I'm Sean Smith. My dream is to become a great physicist, and I plan to inaugurate this role of being a physicist by means of discovering time travel. Now, I think it's important to note, how can I time travel if time's a relative thing? Time is something that always paces forward, and thus time cannot be reversed. So then I had to discover another way in which I can time travel. The only way I thought of was, I once met a man named John Titor, and John Titor elucidated that the only possible way of time travel is by following the multiverse theory and thus traveling to a different divergence line. If I were to utilize this knowledge, I could then time travel to another universe parallel to ours, in which another Sean David Smith lives, and thus take the role of him, time traveling back in time. But how can I get to another line? And thus I decided I would create a device through means of math. After all, math is the tool of the physicist. And then, after that, I came up with an idea. I had a solenoid, and within the solenoid there was a split ring commutator. And there was wires running into this with charges of negative 1.602 times 10 to the negative 19 coulombs on each individual electron. And emanating around those wires was an electromagnetic field that stimulated the photon particles that traveled about. And I could measure the energy by multiplying the frequency of the light by Planck's constant of 6.626 times 10 to the power of negative 34 joules seconds, and thus figure out the energy of each individual photon particle. And I was able to create a Kerr's black hole, which is widely associated with white holes, which can lead to multi-universes and to many different other universes. So then I thought, well, let's try sending a human through my Kerr's black hole. But there was a problem with this. As I began to send humans into them, the forces of going to an alpha timeline 0.6264 caused many helium particles to emanate around them. It literally ripped their body apart, making their bodies anthropomorphic, and thus a problem was found. I realized that the human body was not omnipotent, and I needed to find other means of time travel, other means to get to another universe, but still, recollect the thoughts of the human mind. So then I began to study the human mind. I realized that the brain, it has many different nerves that react on electrical impulses, electrical stimuli. And I researched into galvanism. I researched that the brain was run by the even further electrical impulses, which were induced by electromagnetic waves of different frequencies, between the crests and troughs of different frequencies of waves on the electromagnetic spectrum. I was able to understand that all our thoughts, all our impulses, all our visions were to be run by these electromagnetic waves. So if I could store electromagnetic waves to a device which had a radius which emanated electromagnetic waves, I could send this device back in time, and then inducing the electromagnetic waves of the Sean of that universe, I could transfer thoughts to him, my present thoughts from this universe, and thus time travel would be possible. I could become the greatest physicist of them all. Remember the name, Sean David Smith.